say it happened in a time so ancient, even the wind has forgotten the taste of it. Long before the names of cities changed, and long before roads were mapped or kingdoms carved, there existed a land of emerald mountains, still lakes, and quiet, flowering valleys. It was in this old world, somewhere within the heartlands of what we now call ancient China, that three extraordinary dervishes walked. No one knew their real names. No one could trace where they had come from or where they were headed. Across the lands, they were simply known as the three laughing dervishes. That was enough. That was all anyone needed to know. They traveled together like wandering clouds, never staying in one place too long, and never carrying any burdens, no bags, no maps, no scrolls. Just robes, smiles, and laughter. Wherever they went, they brought with them a strange and powerful gift, one that no king, scholar, or warrior could ever match. They brought joy, and their joy was contagious. The people of each town or village would first spot them from afar. Three old men in tattered yet oddly radiant robes, walking barefoot, their beards white as snow, their eyes gleaming with some secret the world had long forgotten. They never knocked at doors. They never gave sermons. They would merely walk into the central market, the town square, or even just the busiest crossroad, and they would begin to laugh. Not a mocking laugh, not a mad laugh, but a rich, warm, earth-shaking laughter, like the very sound of life cracking open with a delight. At first, people would stop and stare. Who were these men? Were they mystics? Were they fools? But then, slowly, something strange would happen. Their laughter would ripple through the streets, like music in the wind. One by one, people would begin to smile. A child might giggle, an old woman might chuckle, and then, suddenly, like a spark setting dry leaves ablaze, the whole town would erupt in laughter. Shops would close, hammers would stop, markets would pause. People laughed until their eyes teared up, until their worries forgot how to weigh them down. Then, just as silently as they had arrived, the three dervishes would disappear. No goodbyes, no coins collected, just joy left behind, like a flower blooming after rain. They had no scriptures, no followers, no religion, only laughter. Some scholars tried to study them, others tried to write about them, but the truth was no pen could capture their essence. They were like dreams, better felt than explained. And so, they traveled for decades across all of China, leaving behind trails of joy. But time, as it always does, flowed forward. One cold evening in a small village nestled in the northern province, something unexpected happened. The villagers had seen the three dervishes arrive just the day before. They had performed their usual laughter ritual in the market square, but the next morning, only two remained. The third dervish had passed away. The news spread quickly. Farmers abandoned their plows. Merchants closed their stalls. Everyone gathered near the edge of the forest, where the two remaining dervishes sat beside the body of their fallen companion. There was no grief on their faces, no black robes, no mourning chants. Instead, they were laughing, louder and longer than ever before. People were shocked. Some whispered, "Have they gone mad? Are they not sad? Did they not love him?" Finally, one bold young man stepped forward and asked, "Aren't you heartbroken? Why are you laughing at death?" For the first time ever, one of the dervishes spoke. His voice was old yet strong, like an ancient bell ringing across a valley. He said, "When we were coming to your village, our brother made a bet with us. He said, 'Let's see which one of us leaves this world first.' We all laughed and agreed. He won. He beat us in joy, in peace, and now he rests." The second dervish nodded and added, "Before he died, he left a wish, a playful request. He told us, 'Do not bathe my body, do not change my clothes, burn me just as I am. I have never allowed the filth of the world to touch my soul. My laughter has kept me pure.' The villagers, still unsure, agreed to respect his final wish. They built a pyre, wrapped him in the same robe he had worn, and began the rites. But then, something truly miraculous happened. As the fire was lit and the flames rose into the early twilight sky, an explosion of colors burst forth. From the fire shot golden sparks, then red, then deep blues, greens, and shimmering silver. Like celestial fireworks, the flames danced with colors no one had ever seen. The crowd gasped, and then the entire valley echoed with laughter. Not the laughter of the two dervishes alone, but the laughter of the third, richer than ever, as if the very skies had joined in. The people wept, not out of sorrow, but from a joy too deep to bear. The dervishes smiled. "This is not an ending," one of them said. "He has merely gone ahead to prepare the next celebration." That night, under the stars, the village slept with open hearts. Worries melted away, and something soft and eternal settled into the soul of the land. From then on, stories of the three laughing dervishes were told by firelight. Children dreamt of them. Old men remembered them with a tearful smile, and travelers swore they could still hear their laughter echoing in the wind. The lesson they left behind was simple, yet profound. Life is a cosmic joke, meant not to be feared, but to be laughed at. So when life gets heavy, look into the mirror and smile, because your joy is the true meaning of your existence. So tonight, as you lay down your head, think of those three old men. Let go of all you carry. Let laughter touch your lips, even silently, and sleep in the knowing that joy is not far. It lives within you. Good night, and may your dreams be full of laughter. The Silent Monk of Mount Hollow, a story of peace, patience, and purpose. An ASMR sleep story for deep rest. They say that high above the clouds, beyond the reach of footsteps and far beyond the noise of the world, there stood a single monastery carved into the belly of a silent mountain. The mountain had no name, at least not one that people remembered, but those who had heard the old stories simply called it Mount Hollow. a place where echoes went to sleep and thoughts became still as snow. In this forgotten place, surrounded by icy winds, starry skies, and the hush of eternity, lived a monk known only as the Silent One. No one knew his birth name, for he had not spoken a single word in over 30 years. But the villagers who lived miles below in the green valleys spoke of him with awe and reverence. They said he had once been a great prince. Some whispered that he had given up a kingdom. Others said he was a warrior who had laid down his sword after hearing the voice of the stars. But no one truly knew. They only knew his silence and the peace it carried. Once a year, people from the villages below would leave offerings at the foot of the mountain. Bowls of rice, woven scarves, and tiny scrolls with their wishes written in ink. They never saw the monk. They only knew the offerings would vanish by morning, and somehow, just somehow, their hearts would feel lighter afterward, as if some invisible hand had brushed their worries away. Many had tried to climb Mount Hollow to see him. Most turned back halfway. The climb was long, the air thin, and the silence so deep that it echoed in your bones. Only a few ever made it to the top. Those who did told strange stories upon their return, not of miracles, but of something far more powerful. They spoke of presence, of sitting before the silent monk and feeling time stretch and dissolve, of tears falling for no reason, of burdens lifting with no words exchanged, just stillness and silence and a peace deeper than sleep. But this story is not about those who visited him. It is about a young man named Arlen, who one day, driven by sorrow, decided to seek the monk for answers. Arlen had once been full of laughter. A shepherd's son, he grew up chasing fireflies and dreams. But as he grew older, life began to weigh on him. His mother fell ill, his father passed away, and he found himself lost in a world that no longer made sense. Friends moved on, seasons changed, and one evening he found himself sitting by the river with a heavy heart, whispering into the wind, "Why am I even here?" A soft voice from an old woman passing by answered, "Climb the mountain. The silent monk will show you." And so he did. The journey was long and quiet. For days Arlen walked, through forests thick with mist, across bridges of stone and wood, past animals that watched but never fled. With every step upward, the world below seemed to disappear, until only the mountain, the wind, and his own breath remained. When he reached the top, he found the monastery, not grand or golden, but humble, carved from the rock itself. It stood like a part of the mountain, breathing with it. There, sitting under a tree shaped by the wind, was the silent monk. He looked nothing like the statues of saints Arlen had seen in temples. His robe was worn, his beard silver, his hands weathered with time. But his eyes, oh, his eyes, held galaxies of calm. Arlen fell to his knees. "I've come to ask, why am I here? What's the point of all this pain?" The monk looked at him, said nothing, just smiled. Arlen waited for a day, then another. He cried, he shouted, he whispered his fears, but the monk remained silent until on the third day, the monk stood, walked slowly to the edge of a cliff where the sky met the earth, and raised a single hand. He pointed, and Arlen looked. Below them lay the entire world, rolling hills, winding rivers, forest, stars in the sky, and stars reflected in lakes, children laughing in villages, birds flying toward the sun. And in that moment, Arlen understood. He didn't need words. The answer had been around him all along. He was here, simply to be, to witness, to feel, to grow, to breathe in the light and